member spotlights. And we haven't done those in quite some time. In fact, I don't really remember doing any since we started holding these meetings via Zoom. So I figured it would be great, since we are a networking group and we are all about, promoting our businesses and how we can help each other. I thought that this would be a great format, especially for the end of the year, and since we're back on Zoom. And so, like I mentioned earlier, Anne Marie would like us to give her big smiles so that she can take a screenshot for social media. So if everyone can just take a minute and give her a big smile, say cheese. All right, hopefully that does it for her. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to let Jody go first. I know you had said you had a little bit of a time constraint, so I want to make sure that you get your presentation and all your questions answered. So if you want to go ahead and get started, Jody, please do.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here today. As I mentioned, I'm the Director of Public Relations for JAUNT. And I don't have a presentation prepared. I thought we could just have a discussion today. I'll tell you a little bit about JAUNT and answer any and all questions. So, and also I'll put my contact information in the chat before I leave. So if anybody wants to follow up with me, before we got started today, Doug and Annie and I immediately realized there's some opportunity for collaboration there. So hopefully we can connect, but I invite all of you to reach out to me with any questions that didn't get answered today. How many people have heard of JAUNT? Everyone, okay, that's great, good. So we were actually started in 1975. There was I know, right, Don? A handful of human service agencies, each had their own vans and were driving their clients around. And I think they just realized we could do this so much more efficiently and have more resources and time and attention to focus on our actual mission if we created a transit agency that could do this for us. And so that's how JAUNT came to be. I think we started with like 3 vans. We did all our reservations on hand. There's some really fun pictures in an archive somewhere of like black and white stuff. Mechanic, under a van, fixing stuff under a tree. So we've come a long way in the last 45 years. Today, we provide what's called demand response transportation. So really that's, you call, you make a reservation, we come pick you up at your home or wherever you are, and we take you to your destination. That's available in the counties of Albemarle, Fluvanna, Louisa, Greene, Nelson, Buckingham. And then in the city of Charlottesville, we do what's called ADA Paratransit Service. And that is, through an agreement with Charlottesville Area Transit, we provide service to folks that aren't able to use the fixed route service that CAT provides. So they either they don't have the mobility to walk to a bus stop or walk from a bus stop to their final destination. And so we'll provide ADA service for those folks. But we're kind of limited with what we can do in Charlottesville because of the fact that CAT is the primary transportation provider there. And in order for us to provide transportation to people who live in the area that CAT serves, they must be ADA certified. And that is, I'm not super fond of that process. There's a physical paper form you have to fill out and you mail it to CAT, and then CAT decides whether or not you will be certified or not. So it's a little bit clunky. I think there's room for improvement. That said, we have, have you guys heard of the Regional Transit Partnership? No, yes, okay. That is how do I put this? A collaborative team that consists of folks from Albemarle County, the city of Charlottesville, elected officials, and then CAT, JAUNT, and the university transit system are all together. And so we're constantly working on ways to improve efficiencies of the transit services that are available in our community. So I think there's an opportunity for improvement with our ADA process right now. We are funded by state and federal grants and also by the localities that we serve. And so it's complex, but the services that we offer in each of the localities vary based on those localities' transportation priorities and like their budgeting process. So so it's what we do in Nelson is not the same as what we do in Albemarle, which is not the same as what we do in Louisa. So it's very complex and difficult to explain, difficult to understand. I've been with JAUNT since May of 2015, and I'm still trying to get my feet under me. Part of that is onboarding in a pandemic, and part of that is just the complexity of what we do. In order to ride, you just call and make an appointment. And I'll put our reservations phone number in the chat box as well. If you're not already a JAUNT client, they'll take down information about your address. And if you have if you need assistance in terms of mobility, if you're in a wheelchair, you know, we need to make sure that we put you on a vehicle that has room for a wheelchair. If you're traveling with a CPA, you know, making sure that we have that cataloged, but we'll get you all set up in our system. And then from there on out, it's easy peasy. You just call, make a reservation, and we come get you. We do also, I don't know that this is, might not be as interesting to this group, but we have some commuter routes that are they operate more like a traditional fixed route bus service, and that's the Connect. You guys heard of Connect? Okay, well, we do, we have one that goes from Crozet into Charlottesville, and there's one from Northern Albemarle, like the Hollymead area, into Charlottesville. We have one that goes from Lovingston into Charlottesville, and one from Buckingham. So those, I think, are the 4 Connect stops that we have. They pick folks up in the destination that Buckingham, Northern Albemarle, Crozet, or Livingston, and then they stop at, there's a few different stops around the university and a few different stops downtown. So they'll bring folks in the morning, and then they'll take them home in the afternoon. And through a partnership we have with Rideshare, there's an opportunity for you not to get left behind. Like, well, they have a free ride home thing. Like if an emergency comes up, you wouldn't be stranded if you needed to leave and get home. So, so let's see, what else can I tell you? All of our drivers, they go through pretty extensive training. CPR, they all have their CDL, they're emergency trained. They go through ADA care and compassion training and the PASS program. Another thing I'm doing right now, actually, I'm interviewing to fill our mobility manager position. And that person, it's funded through a grant, and technically, they have an office at the JAUNT facility. But really what they'll do is things like travel training. So they'll go out into the community and help folks learn how to use all of the different transportation opportunities that exist in our community, from, of course, JAUNT, CAT, UTS, but also Uber, Lyft, taxis, Lime scooters, like whatever the case may be. Our mobility manager will have a very full, robust understanding of the transit ecosystem in our community, and will help train people on how to use it, sort of take that mystique away. So hopefully I'll have that position filled soon, and I'd love to introduce them to this group once we get that up and running. We're working on something called On Demand. So it's a little bit different from the demand response service that I explained earlier. On demand is more like a Lyft or an Uber type service that would address some of those last mile issues that exist within the current transit ecosystem. And the benefit of something like that is, again, that the connection with all of the different transit options in our community, and the fact that it would be run affordably and operated by people who have gone through all of those trainings that I identified before, which is not necessarily the case if you hop in an Uber. So that's the sort of high level overview of JAUNT. I know I kind of went through a lot. Do you have questions? Oh, somebody raised their hand and then everybody moved around. Is that Graham? Graham, what you got?
Yeah. Yes. So this is a really basic question, but your target audience, is it just Americans with disabilities? Because I heard you say ADA a lot of times, or aging adults, or both, or just the cross section of those two?
It's a great question. I think that we're primarily associated with, in people's minds, the ADA community and seniors. But that is, and that's certainly, I think, our core. That's sort of the base. That's how we started. That's the majority probably of who we serve today. But really, anybody who can ride JAUNT, anybody. You know, as long as as long as you're not in the ADA zone of CAT and Charlottesville, yeah, if we're in your community, we can take you where you need to go. Oh, and I should mention too, we're fare free right now. So we're not charging fares at all. And I believe that is planned for the rest of this fiscal year, which is ends on June 30th. But I don't believe there's any plans to, I think we're trying really hard to figure out how we can just remain fare free. So, Christy, I think you had a question. Oh, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering why Orange County isn't in the group.
That's a great question. Yeah, we the areas that we serve overlap really nicely with the TJPDC Region 10. And I don't know if that is part of it or if it's just that we haven't yet sort of collaborated with Orange. I'm not sure what the details are in terms of expanding services into other communities and localities.
Okay, because I saw where you hit Louisa, so like I was like, and Green. I mean, it's like
I know it's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like So I was just curious why they're not involved, or
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can look into that and follow up with you if you'd like. And if you think there's an interest,
there is a need. I have friends that have things that go down here, but they struggle with travel. I know.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge issue. Okay, I've got your name. And if you want to throw your email in the chat, I'll follow up with you once I learn more. Okay.
Thank you.
Doug and Annie, what you got?
Am I muted?
No, you're good.
Okay. A couple of things. I think at one time were the I guess were people like separated and like they were driven there individually, through COVID, and I guess has that changed back?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our COVID protocols are pretty serious. Our drivers wear masks all the time. Anybody on any bus, it's an FDA requirement that anybody wear a mask on planes, trains, and automobiles that are considered public transportation. We're constantly cleaning, wiping, following CDC protocols. We started out at really this is so hard, trying to figure out a 6-foot distance within our buses. And we don't have a traditional bus. Our buses are a little bit smaller. So it was for a while, we really could only fit like 1 or 2 people per bus. Back, I want to say maybe earlier this summer, we went to 50% capacity, and that was able to expand a little bit. And I think effective I believe it was September 1st, we went to 100% capacity. So our buses are full, but everybody is required to wear a mask, including our drivers. And I will say, you may have heard of this in the news, but with finding drivers right now, there's a real shortage of bus drivers for schools and for public transportation. So, so we're having a little bit of a challenge at the present time, except responding to all of the demand, even though our buses are at full capacity.
For us, it's a little bit of a challenge just because when people come to the warehouse, right now we're just doing curbside service. So normally people, you pull up, honk, we come out, ask you what you need, and we go get it. You fill out a little form, and it might take like 10-15 minutes, but the bus is supposed to drop them off. And so we're trying to find a place for them to sit for like a half an hour or so in order for the bus to come back. And it's a little bit of a challenge. So we might need to brainstorm together on that sometime.
Yeah.
Because and a lot of times I do try to discourage if they say that they have to take JAUNT to the warehouse. I try to see if they can find anybody else to come because of that situation. And so, yeah, if you have any ideas, maybe we can talk sometime about that, to help more people who definitely need to come to us for help with the equipment.
Yeah. I hate hearing you tell that JAUNT is not the best solution for you guys in terms of the current reality.
But also it's like if somebody is needing a bedside commode, they don't kind of think, oh yeah, I got to put a bedside commode on a bus. They're not thinking.
Right. That's fair. Well, yeah, I'd love to brainstorm with you guys on that. We can definitely put our heads together. And I might not be the best person, but I can certainly connect you with somebody in operations that can help you noodle through this.
Thanks so much.
Of course. Tracy, I feel like I'm taking a lot of time. Are we good, Angela? Okay.
How far in advance does someone need to make an appointment to get a ride? So if they have something come up tomorrow, can they call today?
Yeah, they sure can. The more time, the better. Specifically and especially based on what we were just talking about in terms of driver shortages and capacity issues. So the sooner we know that somebody needs a ride, the better chance we will be able to actually accommodate them and fit them into our schedule. But yeah, 24 hours is ideal. If you can call today, we can try to get you in tomorrow.
And you're in Louisa, and do you go to Gordonsville?
Mm-hmm.
You do go to Gordonsville.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go from Louisa to Charlottesville, but it's just in the morning and back in the evening. Is that correct? Connect?
I'd need to double check on that. Again, like all of the services we offer sort of vary from locality to locality. And so but I feel like, if memory serves, I feel like Louisa is one of the localities that we have a pretty robust presence in. So are you in Louisa, Tracy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I will tell you too, I'm getting ready to look at our website and see what it says about Louisa. I'm in the middle right now of remodeling our website, and hopefully within the next 4 to 6 weeks, we'll have something new up and running that'll be a lot more. I don't know if I don't encourage anybody to go to our website right now. It's in a state, but we're working on fixing that. So.
And no charge for rides right now?
That's right.
Wow. Okay. Good to know. Yeah. Thank you.
Of course. Well, it doesn't look like there are any more questions, but like I said, I'll put my contact information in the chat, and I just thank you again for having me and letting me tell you a little bit about JAUNT today.
Thank you so much, Jody. All right, so Graham, are you ready to go?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Can everybody see my screen? Yes, great. My name is Graham Scharf. I'm Director of Operations of ArkWise Wealth. We're a financial planning practice based here in Charlottesville with advisors in Charlottesville and in California. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Kimberly Barrett-Johnson, who is our founder and private wealth advisor, to describe the offerings that we offer to families and particularly for aging adults.
Great, thanks, Graham. And thanks, Jody. That was really interesting. I was taking lots of notes because And I love that it's free right now, in part because it just encourages people to explore that option. And just, you know, environmentally, if we can get more ride sharing going on, that's such a positive thing. So thanks for all that you're doing. Well, it's really a pleasure to be able to speak with you this morning. And so somewhat similarly to Jody, I'm going to kind of set things up for maybe 5 minutes and then just take any questions that there might be. So as Graham mentioned, my name is Kimberly Barrett-Johnson, and our firm is ArkWise Wealth. We changed the name from Barrett-Johnson Associates in 2020, right after the pandemic hit. It was such a great time to choose a new name. But actually, we've been thinking about it for a very long time, and we wanted to have a concept name that would carry with it some of the purpose and the passion that we have behind the work that we do. And so the wisdom of the ARK, and I'm referring here to Noah's Ark, is that you prepare for your future ahead of time. And that is something that we really find it a privilege to help families do, and including, you know, across the generations. So our mission statement is that we help busy, successful people who want to be wise stewards of their resources, make their lives simpler and more rewarding. And while our key two services are comprehensive financial planning and wealth management, our goal is really not just to help our clients get a return on their investment, but to get a return on their lives. And so to help people be wise stewards of all of their resources, really broadly meant. So our hope is that through that comprehensive planning process, that we're helping our clients gain increasing degrees of clarity, confidence, and ultimately contentment around finances. And, you know, life contentment too, that's always a good thing. How do we do that? So we have a very defined process where we're helping our clients to plan comprehensively, invest wisely, live generously, and then share vision. And so the share vision part has to do with the often the estate planning part, which might be sharing vision with the broader community for some philanthropic planning purposes. It might be sharing vision within the family for kind of the family culture and making sure that there's some infrastructure around how that family culture gets preserved and passed on. And so that goes kind of beyond just the technical details of good estate planning. So we work very proactively and collaboratively, as you might expect, with our clients. CPAs, you said, Jody, you said CPA earlier, if they have a CPA, and I'm like, I think of CPA as a certified public accountant, but I'm thinking it probably stands for care person, something attendant. But anyway, I thought that was funny. But we work very proactively with our clients, tax advisors or CPAs, and with their legal advisors to help, especially with that share vision piece, and make sure that the pieces are in place before they need to be. And so the before they need to be is, you know, as we're all aware, sometimes as people age, cognitive capacity can decline. And so having some of those key things in place before that occurs, having some of those key communications with the intergenerational family are very important. So we do, it's probably one of the most fun things I think that we do, having been working now with families in our community for almost 30 years to work across generations with different branches of the family. And so we have some process around that, because as you can imagine, when you get money and family and different generations, could there be conflict? Could there be difficulty? Could there be just opportunities for cross, speaking past each other, misunderstanding? Sure, there can be. And so for me, one of the most meaningful things about the work that we do is helping families experience greater harmony. And that comes out of my own pain. I think a lot of times we do things to solve problems that we ourselves have experienced. sorry, I sometimes get, you know, because it's personal. But in my own family, I experienced some conflict around financial stuff. And our family's strong, our relationships are really strong. But my parents ended up divorcing in part because of not being able to have common goals together and share a common vision for their future around finances. And there was some stuff intergenerationally when my grandparents passed on too. And so it does bring me a special satisfaction when I feel like we are really helping our clients navigate those waters, which are naturally somewhat troubled, in ways that are much more life-giving, much more create more thriving for the families that we serve. So with that setup, well, okay, I'll mention two other things. So we work with comprehensive financial planning. We charge a fee for that. So we offer an initial consultation that's complimentary. So there's no cost for that initial meeting. So if someone would like to explore our services and see if we're a good fit. And we usually have an initial conversation ahead of time just to see kind of what does the landscape look like? Are we likely to be a good fit at solving the particular issues or concerns that our clients have? Or prospective clients, and then arrange for that initial meeting. And that can happen virtually, or it can happen in our offices, which are near downtown, but actually have good parking. So that's that. And if we engage in that, then we take our clients through kind of a deep dive. We call it phase one, where we get everything about their financial life in order. And then phase two is that ongoing coaching over time to help make sure that everything about their financial life stays on track, and as their goals and perspective about things may change, that we're making great adjustments or being very nimble. And then the wealth management piece is really the investment management. So investments and the insurance piece, the protection planning that may be needed to help support people's goals. So those two things come into play. We do a lot of education for our clients. So we're constantly wanting to educate our clients about helping them just be, with more information comes more confidence and more knowledge. And there are two things that we do every single year. So we have almost every month, we have some kind of educational piece that we're offering, and we offer it to our clients, but also to the broader community most of the time, especially the virtual education pieces. And the two that I want to call out is one that's called Family Love Letter. And that is a collaboration with an organization that's put together some incredible resources around getting every detail of the financial life put together. We did that this past fall. We're going to do it again in the first quarter, although we don't, I think, have the date firmed up for that. But if that is something that you're interested in or you think would be helpful to someone that you know, we will follow up once that plan is established. And then the other one is just a roundtable. Many years ago, I read Adil Gawande's book, Being Mortal, which probably a lot of people here have read, but if you haven't, I highly recommend it to you. And so he's a physician who's also a writer, and he talks about the fact that we're mortal. We have bodies, we age, and how to navigate that for ourselves, for people that we care about, for the communities that we're in. And I don't know if any of you participated in it, but there was a discussion at the Paramount around the time when that book first came out, and there was a Dateline TV thing that was put on that was shown at the Paramount, and then there was a discussion. And so from that time, and I had read his book, I thought, well, I want to continue this conversation in our community. And so every fall, we put together a panel of people to talk about issues related to how do we age well? How do we have that wisdom for life that we do this well? Because like with a lot of things in life, there are things that you only get to do once, maybe twice, and it's hard to learn. You can't learn from your own experience if you only get to do it once. And aging and dying is something that we're going to do once. I mean, really, we might help our parents do that, but how do we get wisdom from one another so that we can make better decisions when that time comes? So that's kind of the purpose of that event. So there are two events that are educational that we try to just elevate this topic and elevate conversation around it to create better decision-making, better communication. Okay, so with that said, does anybody have any questions?
No questions for Kimberly and Graham? I did want to make a comment on the family love letter. It kind of sounds like something similar to what we do here at the law firm when someone creates an estate plan, which also has a lot to do with their financial planning. So we do give clients the opportunity to have a family meeting where, you know, the attorneys will go over with all of their children and other decision makers, you know, what their role is and why things are the way they are and things like that. And then we also do a legacy interview, which is an audio recording of the client talking about their lives and each of their children and, you know, their spouses together, their life together, all their memories and traditions and things that, you know, they would want the future generations to carry on. And so they have that for when they're gone and people can go back and listen in their actual voice. And it becomes a really meaningful part of their plan. So.
Wow. I love that you do that. That is awesome. I've heard some other practices that do that. And I think it's a beautiful practice. So
Yes. It's a very emotional experience, even just to sit and you know, watch. So anybody else have anything?
I see Tracy and then Alyssa.
Okay.
Good morning, Kimberly. Is your service for people that have substantial wealth, or is it helpful for people that may be on Medicaid and Medicare?
So I would say we're more designed to help people who have complexity in their lives because of wealth. So where they've accumulated wealth and they're dealing with the transfer of that. That said, because we work across generations with families, you know, it's really a mix. And we want to be a resource wherever and however we can. We do work with some attorneys in town where there's a guardianship or conservatorship arrangement in place. And so we're helping to manage things for someone in that situation. But it does tend to be more around where there's actually, you know, there are assets involved. Yeah.
Thank you.
I will just add, Tracy, we have a number of educational events that are aimed at people who are making initial decisions about caring for finances. We have one of those coming up on January 6th at 6 o'clock. It's a virtual event, so you can join us in person in the office or virtually, that goes through financial basics. And so for anybody, regardless of their level of wealth, that can be a great entry point to asking, am I doing the basics?
Thank you for sharing that. Will you share a link or something like that so I can follow up?
Most certainly. And Alyssa.
Yeah, just more, I wanted to touch on your Aging Well event because that spoke to me. And I think one of the reasons I'm in this industry, and probably most of us, is how passionate we are about that process and helping people to live well. And so I just wanted to say that spoke to me, and we, Anthology, would love to be a part of that in whatever capacity. David, our executive director, is a physical therapist, so he's been doing a lot of speaking on aging well physically. So I don't know if there's a connection there at all. I know that you're aging well financially, but I think that there's just so many different connections, and let us know how we can be helpful in any way.
Thank you. That's a really great offer. Yeah, we try to put together kind of a diverse and interesting panel each year. So just as an example, this year it was Asa Longaker. Am I saying his last name right, Graham?
Asa Eslocker.
Eslocker, thank you. Asa Eslocker, who is an architect and filmmaker who has done a study and then a film on landscapes of longevity. So we're communities in the world where people tend to live a long time with health, about some of the commonality there. And then our other speaker or panelist was Jane Foy. I don't know if some of you remember Jane Foy from the morning show that she used to do, but she has written a book about the A to Z of caring for someone with dementia, and talk about sort of both the challenges and the opportunities of that experience, having with her husband having had dementia, and kind of what that experience has been. And she's, speaks with great passion and humor about a topic that's kind of hard. So that just gives you an idea. We're not just, we figure we're bringing the financial piece to our clients already. And so this is more to open it up and kind of talk about that bigger picture of aging well. So yes, sort of physical, that mobility, balance, all of that would be a great topic.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
And as Fred said last month, one of the best ways to prepare for aging is to stay healthy, because then you don't have all the financial costs associated with being unhealthy.
So it looks like Christy posted a question in the chat. Is that the one we just covered?
Yeah, so we do
Okay.
help with making investments. And so that's part of what we do, is helping people plan
Yeah.
for investing for, retirement, financial independence. I don't actually love the word retirement. I've helped people achieve financial independence, so they have a lot of choice about designing their best life. But I get annoyed actually when people say I'm retired, because I'm like, all you're telling me is that you used to do something that you don't do. Tell me about who you are. What are you like? What are you doing? Because just because people achieve financial independence and make a transition to a new chapter, that is not the only thing that defines them. They have new things that they're engaged in. So like even the word, I think is a bad word. The word retirement means to retract, to pull back, to retire. And, we want to help people be engaged their whole lives long and get that great return on life.
At least for me, the word retirement sounds very exciting.
I've been looking for a new word for it too. So
Yeah.
if anyone comes up with some great terminology, let me know.
So Alyssa, I posted a link in the chat to a book called The New Retirement Mentality that Kimberly loves and hands out like candy, because it so well captures that vision for engagement in community that maybe volunteer, maybe paid, maybe something else, but bridges that divide between the earning years and the maybe or maybe not earning years.
Yeah. And I'll just add one more comment about that. So I think he traces kind of this shift in how we've been advertised to think of retirement. The purpose of it is to be on perpetual vacation. Right. I'm just at the beach for the rest of my life. And that actually can sound good when you're in a place of overwhelm and overwork, like get me there. I need that vacation. Right. But for most people, after about 6 months of that, they are ready to re-engage. And if they think that the purpose of their life is to play golf and have lunch, be on vacation for the rest of their life, this is just my observation after nearly 30 years of working with people and helping them through that transition. The people who are the happiest are the ones who have some element of meaningful work in their life. Now that might be through the volunteer service or passion that they have. It may be staying engaged with the profession. It may be a new thing that they take up that, it may be connecting with their grandchildren and making that a meaningful part of their lives. But there's something where they feel they're contributing and they're needed, and they have to show up for some stuff because they're needed and they're important in other people's lives. And if you're just on vacation, you're missing some of those key elements that work actually provides, where you feel like you're making a contribution and you're part of a team. So we all need that as human beings.
And as a quick vignette of that, we volunteer regularly at the food bank and at the botanical garden. And I was working with one of our clients who is retired at one of these events recently. And I asked her how her retirement is. And she said she's now more busy with volunteer and board work than she was when she was a researcher at UVA.
All right. Anybody else?
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for the opportunity to speak with you. As you can tell, I'm passionate about this. I just think it's really important. I love working with people and again, helping people get a great return on life. So thanks for the opportunity to share.
All right. Thank you so much, Kimberly and Graham. And we're going to go ahead and move on to our last segment with Doug and Annie Dodd.
Hi, thanks very much. I'm Doug Dodd, and this is my wife, Annie. Annie is the executive director at All Blessings Flow, and I'm the director of development and programs. And it's such a great segue because I am currently, well, for the last 3 months, I've sort of been going through that process. We don't use the R word at our house either. But I left my teaching career of 30 years and came on board full time with All Blessings Flow in June. And it's just been great. And so most of the folks who work with us, or at least many of them, are in fact, again, using the R word, retirees who are volunteers, and they do a great job. They keep us going. But let me tell you a little bit more about what we do, and I'll try to move this along fairly quickly. I think I can share my screen. Let's see. There we go. Can everybody see that okay? Everybody got, okay, cool. So we are All Blessings Flow, and here's just some of our folks that we work with. These are our volunteers here in the center of the screen. All very happy. They work very hard, but they have a really good time doing it. But all around the screen, which may be hard to see depending on where your visual boxes are, but all around the edges there are some of our clients who we've helped. And the one thing that they all have in common is that they really had a desperate need for some medical equipment and they couldn't afford it. And this varies in many different ways based on their disability, based on the types of activities that they need to do. But again, the bottom line is they have this need for equipment, and that's where we step in. And here's a little background on us, our history. This lovely lady here with CavMan is Annie's mother. This is Peggy Woodson. And Annie cared for Peggy in the last years of her life. And in doing so, as a caregiver, a full-time caregiver, we just collected a lot of medical equipment in order to help Peggy with her needs. Peggy was a polio victim early on, and as she, towards the end of her life, she had more and more needs, which required more and more equipment. And when Peggy passed away, we had all this equipment and we weren't exactly sure what to do with it. We looked around for an organization that would help us find homes for these things, and we couldn't find that organization. And so Annie was an occupational therapist, and she had a lot of connections in the health community around here. And through those connections, over the course of about a year or so, we found homes for Peggy's equipment. And in delivering that equipment to those folks, we realized how big a change in their life a simple piece of equipment could be. For example, Peggy had this air mattress that she used, which helped her be more comfortable in the bed. And we delivered that to a lady. And this lady had been sleeping in her recliner for 2 years prior to that. We brought her this air mattress, and you would have thought she won the lottery. It changed her life. And we realized at that time, hey, maybe we're onto something, and maybe we need to, make this a bigger deal. And so thus became All Blessings Flow in our mission. And as it says there, pretty basic. We provide medical equipment to those who need it and can't afford it. And our clients are all disabled in one way or another. They're living with some type of disability. Sometimes that's a temporary one. Sometimes it's permanent. And again, they're the wide range. They run the gamut from one thing to another. Most of our clients are from low-income families and underserved groups around. We seniors probably are the majority, not probably, are the majority of the folks we work with. About 60 to 65% of our clients are seniors, also rural residents, people of color. And what we try to do for these folks, the equipment, of course, is the physical need that they have, but having that equipment is what actually helps them with those activities that you and I take for granted, sleeping and going to the bathroom and moving around and all those things that, again, we believe are fundamental human rights. And these people should not be denied those things simply because they can't afford a piece of equipment. And so that's what we try to do. Just some more basics here. We are local in that we serve Charlottesville and Albemarle and all the surrounding counties. We're faith-based. That's the why behind what we do. It was neat hearing Kimberly share some of her passion for the work that she does. This is kind of the basis of our passion as well. And I think it really makes a difference when you have that personal passion that goes along with it. We're a health services organization in that we are, this isn't just a warehouse. Some people, have in mind, oh, gee, it's just like Walmart. You go and you grab a piece of equipment. It's not. This is that we're health services in that folks come to us with a need. Most of the time, they're a referral from another healthcare provider, a nurse, a therapist, the hospitals, many of the home health agencies around. They will make a referral to us because they have a client and they're like, hey, this person needs this piece of equipment or these pieces of equipment, and they can't afford it. That's how the process starts. But on our end, our folks that are working, the volunteers, Annie's, again, an occupational therapist, most of our volunteers have some healthcare background, nurses and therapists. And so when the folks come to us, we listen to what they believe their needs are. And oftentimes that is what they need, but oftentimes it's not. Sometimes they'll come in. We had a little lady, I think I have a picture of her in just a minute. She came to us and said she needed a new cane. She was walking around and she had this, cane, and her cane was kind of worn out. And she said, could I get a new cane as she walked in the door? And Annie's like, sure, we can give you a cane, but hold on just a second. She was looking at the lady's gait and how she was getting around. And anyway, after talking to her in a brief evaluation, the lady ended up leaving with not only a cane, but a wheelchair and some other items that she really needed to get around. And so that health service aspect of what we do is all about meeting the people's needs where they are. We also happen to be, just by the nature of what we do, we're a green organization. We reuse and repurpose equipment that would otherwise end up in the landfill. And so that's a big part of what we do. Just some of our numbers. We started in January of 2015, and we didn't update for October, but at the end of September, we have currently helped a little over 12,000 neighbors in the last 6 years or so. We've given out over 40,000 pieces of equipment. Worth fair market value of that equipment is a little over $3 million. The only reason that that's important is that if these folks weren't getting the equipment from us, they would have to find it elsewhere. And in many cases, they'd have to buy it, which happens, at times with folks with certain items that we don't have available. They're like, okay, well, I can't wait that long, and they'll have to go purchase it. You could probably double that number. And that's the amount of money that folks would have had to spend on medical equipment rather than what they were able to do and spend it on food and other necessities that they need to get around. And so that's money that has we feel has helped them, again, those 12,000 folks, live a better life and change the quality of their life because we were able to help them with this in addition to the physical needs. And of course, we've also reused 450,000 pounds of material over the years as well. Ways that folks can help. Of course, we right now, currently, we are giving out a little over 1,000 items per month. And so we are always in need of medical equipment and supplies. And so if you know of anyone, if you guys, here who's got equipment that they're no longer needing, please send them our way. Of course, we're always in need of financial support. And a lot of this information you can also get on our website, just allblessingsflow.org. And volunteers we're looking for at all times. They can work in the warehouse. We need help with pickups and deliveries. As we were talking about with JAUNT, a lot of our clients aren't able to get there on their own. And so they have to find other means. And so we try to help out as much as we can, but oftentimes we need volunteers to help us with that. Also with marketing and donation drives, that would be something that someone might sponsor with a group or church. Just, put it together and say, hey guys, when you come to church on Sunday, bring your crutches with you, bring your, your old walker that you're not using. And it's just a way to bring in some of that equipment that we really need. And of course, shares and prayers. If you guys can help spread the word about All Blessings Flow, we're always wanting folks who have equipment. The basic idea here, our vision is real simple. It's take stuff from people who have it and give it to people who need it. And it's a real simple idea, but it's not really that easy. But what we hope is that people will hear about us. And when they have that equipment, when a loved one passes away, or they're for whatever reason they're finding themselves with some equipment, they'll, rather than oh gee, we just need to take this to the landfill, they'll think of us and it'll come our way. And of course, if you're so inclined, you can also please help us through your prayers by praying for our clients and for our mission, which is always one of the best ways to help as well. So that's our basic story. Oh, sorry. Let me back up just a second. So this lady right here in the chair, that lovely lady there, she's the lady who came in asking for the cane and ended up again with some other needs that we were able to help her out with. And so just a few slides to run through very briefly. This is just what our operation looks like. Our volunteers are helping with equipment when it comes in, inspecting it, cleaning it. We have folks here helping out with repairs. A lot of the equipment comes in need of minor repairs or sometimes major repairs. And then we sort it and stack it and get it all in place. And then there's our clients with the equipment as they leave us. And so that's basically what we do and who we are. And if I can find my button here, I will stop sharing. There we go. That's a very quick run through, but please, if anybody has any questions, please let us know.
Anybody?
Graham.
All right.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this. My wife is a developmental pediatrician, so she spends a lot of time with insurance companies trying to advocate for medical devices for families. And so I imagine for those where they can't get an authorization, All Blessings Flow would be a huge resource to them, as well as those who outgrow devices because right, they don't need them because they don't fit them anymore.
Absolutely.
Then the other was thank you for sharing the pictures. You had a picture of a boot. My daughter broke her foot last year. We have a boot sitting at home that I sure hope we're not going to use again.
Send it our way.
A perfect donation.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we just actually started our pediatric program a couple of years ago, and it's still growing. But we now have a couple of pediatric physical therapists from the Children's Hospital that has joined our teams, and so they are helping to spread the word and helping us to make sure that the right piece of equipment is selected for that child that is in need, and so that program is growing. So
great, thank you both.
We also, I just wanted to throw out, we also started a new website called Disability Resources United.org. And it actually it's got 16 different categories of all kinds of disability resources. It's got over 200 resources on there right now. It's primarily it's not dealing with a person's financial situation. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you have. I mean, so it's just any type of disability, whether it's you need hearing aids and glasses to you need a handicap van. I mean, it's just all kinds of resources. And it's just something we created this past year to help our, the entire community. It will be a little bit of a fundraiser because we're going to ask for sponsors. So that's this fundraising side of it. But if you can go to that website and check it out, like I said, disabilityresourcesunited.org. We're really hoping that this is going to catch on for people just looking for anything that they can think of, that's a one-stop shop kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if I missed this, and I see Sheila taking some copious notes there, but I just wondered if you were connected with Java and if you all work together and everything to sort of supplement what the other one doesn't have.
Yes, we actually, Sheila, we haven't actually sent out like a mass email yet to our healthcare partners about it. I'm still working on that little flyer, but since I had y'all here, I just wanted to share that with you. We've been working on it all year. It's up and running. We just haven't really kind of launched the advertisement of it, I guess. And so y'all are kind of some of the first to hear. So.
Anybody else?
Well, you do mention, Angela, it's great. The idea of, excuse me, the way that we work is through networking. And so the more folks and the more organizations, we have about 150 partner organizations that we work with. But it still surprises us sometimes when folks will come around and be like, well, we had no idea you existed. And so, the more that we can get the word out and the more that we can connect with other folks, the better. And so I think this, what you guys do here is awesome. We just joined the chamber this summer. And so it's neat finding out some of the opportunities that are here. So we really appreciate the opportunity this morning.
Absolutely. And the law firm here, occasionally we have clients that are in need of equipment. So it's good to have another resource. And I'm sure Kathy at iCor sees the same thing, people that can't afford it new and things like that. So this is awesome. I'm so glad you guys were here and able to speak today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kimberly, you're muted.
Thanks. I was going to say one of the areas that's of special interest to me as a financial advisor is philanthropic planning. And so someone asked earlier, are you working with people who are on Medicaid, or is it tend to be wealthier folks? It tends to be more affluent folks because, for me, after 30 years in this industry, a lot of where I find the challenge is in those more complex cases where there are tax and philanthropy goals, and we're like, and helping families who have a passion for a cause or philanthropy to kind of create that design element in their family for how they want to support causes that are important to them across the generations, or maybe as part of the family legacy, right? It's not disinheriting the kids or the grandkids if it's creating this legacy of generosity that is part of their family culture. But one of the things that I do, I chair the Charlottesville Area Plan Giving Council, and I'm certainly available to nonprofit boards or nonprofits to speak to your board, because what you want from your board members, obviously, is that they're annual donors. But ideally, you would also love for them to make a planned gift to your organization and to become advocates to others about how can they incorporate planned giving into their own legacy plans. And so sometimes when people hear planned giving, they think, oh, well, that's for super wealthy people. It is. It can be a really great solution for super wealthy people, make no mistake. And those are really fun cases to work on. But it is also a great solution for everyday people. Anybody who has an IRA, a retirement account, could decide, you know what, I'm going to leave this to each other, husband, wife. But after each other, instead of leaving this money to our kids or leaving all of it to our kids, maybe we want to leave 20% of it to the organization that we care about, or organizations. And why would you want to do that? Because you leave it to your kids, they have to pay the tax. But you leave it to charity, charity gets it without any tax. And so it's a smart way for anybody who wants to leave a financial legacy as part of their estate planning to do that piece. And so when I come in and speak to a board, I'll talk about kind of 10 common strategies that people can use that range from really simple, like change a beneficiary arrangement, to a little bit more complex, but not that hard, make a bequest in your will, to, on up the scale of like, here are things that you can do that can have a significant tax or other financial benefit for you and for your family if you're charitably inclined. And so the purpose of the Charlottesville Area Plan Giving Council is to help increase the quantity and the quality that are happening in our community. And we really believe as that's happening, as people are sort of unlocking their generosity in smart ways, that just helps our whole community thrive and the organizations that support our community thrive.
That sounds awesome. I did not realize that existed. So So that's really cool.
And I'll give a very concrete example of that. My grandmother passed away in the early 2000s. She was of modest means. She said, when I die, I want my house, the proceeds from the sale of my house, which was less than $100,000, to go to Habitat for Humanity, because I want it to be for homes. And she was not acquainted with the Habitat for Humanity folks in Arlington, Texas, where she lived. So she said, wherever. So I went to Dan Rosenzweig and I said, I love what you're doing in Charlottesville. Can we use this planned gift for my grandmother? So some of the new houses that have been built on 5th Street are the result of one person of modest means saying, I want the proceeds of my home to go to Habitat for Humanity.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
Right.
All right, anything else? Well, Doug and Annie, thank you again so much for speaking today. And thank you again to Graham and Kimberly. And I would thank Jody again, but I think she dropped off. She had to go at 10. So I look forward to seeing everybody hopefully in person at Anthology next month. And until then.